Welcome to the Bulldog Blitz. I'm your host, Bethany Wersch, and today I am joined in the studio by Kirsty Legg. Kirsty, welcome.
Hi.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
So you're a senior this year, but you're doing a fifth year.
I am going to.
We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we want to introduce you a little bit. So we've had a couple international students before. How did you get here? I always ask. I always want to know, like Butler of all places, why?
Yeah. It's kind of strange because I was only recruited by Butler. Most of the other internationals are recruited by many other places, but I ran not real fast, but I suppose fast for my age late in the season, and the previous assistant coach, Darren Gawson, saw that, and he kind of just called me up, and we went from there, and him and Coach Rowe were in contact with me from then.
So you didn't know anything about it until Darren got in touch with you?
Yeah, I knew nothing about the system until I got Darren's email, and it all started from there.
So were you lightly recruited because you didn't get quick until the end of the season, or?
I wasn't recruited at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then I just got a email from Darren, and I didn't completely commit to Butler until like 4 weeks before I actually flew out here.
So until you were sure, right?
Yeah.
But you didn't visit before you came?
No, I didn't visit at all.
Now that's really interesting that you weren't recruited because you were All-American as a sophomore, right? So can you talk about that race a little bit and just nationals for indoor, right? What event?
No, nationals for outdoor.
Oh, okay. Was that 1500?
1500,
okay.
yeah.
And that was, where was that?
That was in Des Moines, Iowa. I just missed out by like 1/100 of a second of making nationals indoors because it's like the top 16, so it's much more difficult. And then I would have, like the way I ran outdoors, I kind of should have made it, I suppose, indoors, but I didn't. So.
But that kind of
yeah, that jump started me for outdoors, which enabled me to be an All-American, which was nice.
That's so awesome. You're like the third or fourth or something?
Third, I think, yeah.
That's so cool. So how is running here different from back home? I know you kind of talked about the competitiveness a little bit. Is it?
At home, I did everything on my own, completely on my own. So coming to Butler was a reality shock for me. I never ran with girls before all the time, so at first it was kind of strange, and I didn't really like it, but now I love it. So it's great to be around a team and a nice environment.
Yeah. So like I touched on before, you're going into a fifth year. What's the reason behind that? I know you were injured. You didn't choose to take time off, but this year you did choose to take time off. Is that right?
That's right.
But you weren't injured.
No.
So can you elaborate a little bit on how that kind of worked?
Yeah, I decided to take time off this year just to get me ready for cross, so I can be stronger and more competitive for the team rather than just for myself, really. And I'm not quite ready to leave Butler. I like the structure, I like the program, the girls that are here, that are staying extra time too. I think it's just going to be good for all of us.
So you're not running outdoor?
No, I'm not running outdoor.
You kind of had a tough go of indoor a little bit. Now summer, you're just going to train. Are you going back home to race at all?
I'm not going to race at all, I don't think. I'm just going to get ready for cross.
Okay. So what are you guys looking for? I mean, we have this huge conference move again.
Yeah.
That's exciting for you?
Yeah, it is really exciting. It's kind of strange that now I'm going to be in my third conference being here. So, yeah, I think it's going to be tough for the women's team. I mean, I think if we could be top 3, top 4, that would be really big, because the women's side, the teams that are, I don't know, the top 3 or 4 teams are all like top 10 nationally ranked teams. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's exciting though, right?
Yeah, very exciting.
What about recruits? Have you met some of the recruits for next year? What do you think about them?
I actually haven't met that many of them, but I know we've got some real good ones coming in. So like middle distance, so they'll be good on the track and ready for cross.
Which is helpful, right?
Yeah, very helpful.
Have you met there's another European student coming in, right? A grad student?
Katie Good.
Yeah, do you guys, do you know anything about
I haven't met her, but I've spoke to her a little, social networking.
Yeah.
So.
Coach just saying, hey, you got to talk a little
bit. She seems really nice though.
So what exactly is your training plan for summer? I mean, is the whole team, you guys all doing everything? Are you kind of on your own, or?
I think I'm kind of going to be on my own, because I know a lot of people are doing different things. But my plan will be to just get my mileage up and get ready for cross. So hopefully I can help the team.
Yeah, it's exciting. So team talk, how has the team, I know you said before you were training on your own, you still managed to be recruited internationally. now you have a team. How have they helped you, you know, since you came here and making that adjustment?
To be honest, it makes training so much easier. Like, I don't even think about it. I just get up in the morning, meet the team, and do it. Yeah. You know, and then at the end of the week, I'm like, oh, yeah, that really happened this week, you know? It just makes workouts so much easier. We all just do it together.
And Darren leaving, was that, I know Coach Rowe has helped you quite a bit. And
yeah. Coach Rowe, I suppose, has been my rock while I've been here, which many people will find strange. But
who's your coach, right?
Yeah,
That's okay.
he is. He's been extremely good to me. Yeah. But Darren, it was strange for him to leave. He was the guy that initially contacted me, and I had a lot of communication with him before I came here. But Coach Ponce that we've got now is incredible and such a great guy and an amazing fit for our program. So
now, when Darren left, did you? I mean, you had planned on you're graduating. You're actually graduating.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you think that you might plan on following him or pursuing a different team as?
No,
something?
that was never my thing. I'm too loyal to the girls here that I would never leave. We all came in together, and there's not many of us leaving this year. There's a lot more of us staying for a 5th year. Yeah. So.
How many of you are staying?
From when we first came, I know there's only 2 graduating from our class that came in. So.
Wow, so you're gonna have there should be a strong team then.
Yeah.
Even with that should help, yeah.
And with like Olivia and Mara too.
Yeah, youngsters.
The youngsters.
Now, 5th year, is there a chance of a 6th year? Because I know you've missed multiple seasons for each, for cross and track.
No, I'm not. I'm not gonna stay a 6th year.
Okay.
You have to. I'm not quite sure how you would do that, but you can do it.
Everyone's trying to break the rules, right?
Yeah, everyone's trying to work the system. But no, that's not in our plan to do that.
So a lot of hopes and goals for next year. Now, I know this is far away, but the year after, are you trying to run professionally here or go home or?
I think I'm going to go home. That's always been the plan, to go home. Coach Rowe's always known that. Most of the internationals always stay around, but that's never been in my plan. From like day one, I suppose, I was always going to go home. Yeah. And it's easier to race as a professional at home, I find. There's less of a professional system here in the States. So that would be one of my goals, yeah.
Now, are you, I think you had mentioned before, not in this particular interview, but Olympic trials. You went to those?
I went to those. Okay. I was one place from missing the final. So, which kind of sucked, but.
Motivation, again,
motivation,
right?
yeah.
Resilience, resilience.
And it was just one of those days, you got to take the bad with the good, so. Good with the bad.
Now, you said that you had started, you know, when you came in, you knew that you weren't going to leave, and I know you talked about the professional scene being a little bit easier, but the Olympic goals and all that stuff, I mean,
I mean, it would be amazing to make an Olympic team, but that is so far in the distance. I mean, it's another 4 years right now, and a lot can happen, hopefully for the positive.
Yeah.
You know, that would be nice, but it'd be amazing for me to make like a Commonwealth team or just a Great Britain team, because right now, people always think that I've made a team, but I actually haven't, so.
Huh, I thought you made a team.
No, I haven't. Yeah, people think I have, but I haven't.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know you're not. I mean, you must be close, though, to.
Yeah, I've been close before.
Yeah. And is that just in the mile or?
In the mile and the 800.
Okay.
So.
And then let's go back a little bit to this outdoor season. Racing unattached at all, or are you literally just not touching any of it?
Right now, we haven't really spoke about it, but I think I'm probably not going to race at all. I would rather help the team get ready for cross, like the Big East. Big East Catholic 7. That's like a huge deal.
Everyone's like, we don't know what it's called.
Yeah, we don't know what it's called. So.
And what about helping your teammates in the process? Are you just kind of, cheering them on? What is it that you do? You're a captain too, right?
No.
Not technically a captain, but you're kind of a captain.
Yeah, it's one of them. I would say it's an unspoken kind of thing. Like I just do I help the girls. We just get out there and crush it, I suppose.
Yeah. And what about I don't know how I missed her. Coach Mason. Right? How has she impacted you since she's leaving though soon? Is that right, or is that? I don't know if she is or not, but
I'm not 100% sure. But I'm not sure of her plans. She is. Yeah. Yeah, but she was a big help to me. Freshman year, I did everything on my own, apart from in cross. In track, I did everything on my own. And then my sophomore and junior year, she came in, and yeah, she helped me a ton. So she was like, what, 3rd at the Pan Am Games? Yeah, right. So we did everything together. Yeah. So it was a great help. And seeing her make the USA final, yeah,
big deal
huge.
for Butler sports.
Yeah.
Right? Hopefully this name, Big East and everything.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, thank you, Kirsty, so much for coming in. Coming up on segment 2 of the Blitz, Margot Tomich talks with the incoming president of Butler's student cheering section, otherwise known as the Dog Pound.
Welcome back to segment 2 of the Bulldog Blitz. I'm your host, Marco Tomich. Today I'm joined in the studio by your new Dog Pound president, Kevin Schwartz. If his name sounds familiar, it is because Kevin is famous for hitting the half-court shot during ESPN's Game Day. Earlier this season, welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, I want to congratulate you on your presidency. I quite like your get-up you have here. The cape really brings out your eyes. You want to go into depth about what this is?
Well, this is my typical game attire. Starting with my freshman year, I wore, this net hat, and every year since I've added something. So my actual lucky socks are in the wash because the season's over, but I added the cape this year and a pair of glasses as well.
Now, you said your freshman year. When did you first really get involved with the Dog Pound?
Well, my love for being in the student section started in high school, actually. I was in charge of our high school basketball student section as well as football, and we were voted one of the rowdiest crowds in Illinois. So when I got here, I was looking to be a part of the organization, knowing how big basketball was, but also because it offered me an opportunity to be rewarded for going to all the other sporting events. So during Welcome Week, I went to the block party. I signed up for Dog Pound, and since then, I've been one of the first people in line at every single basketball game and kind of taken it to a new level.
To be first in line, how early do you have to be there?
Depending on the type of game, a typical game would be, 2 hours before the gates open. However, if it's a bigger game like a Xavier when we had Gonzaga, it could be all day, even the night before.
Wow, all night, even in the cold, in the snow?
Well, there's different ways to handle that. Usually staying in the HRC till it closes, and then after that, sleeping in the trunk of my car. I've put a blow-up bed in there before and brought along snacks and a DVD player, so there's ways to get around it.
That's what you use your head. Now, since you have been here at Butler and in the Dog Pound, have you really contributed much to the Dog Pound? Is there any chance that you've possibly made up that people might know of?
Well, my good friend Ari Castle and I, who's the guy that stands next to me in the first row, we're both pretty creative people, so a lot of times the chance that we come up just happen throughout the course of a game. I know at the beginning of the year, for example, with Kellen Dunham, we were looking for something to say for him, and Ari started using the word Dunham to replace the guitar and bass for the song Crazy Train, which a lot of people recognize. And once he did that, we started to figure out really what other songs we could use the word Dunham for, which is how we came to the Jaws theme. And with that, we kind of gave Kellen the nickname the Shark. I added the hand motion, which a lot of people do, the band, the students. Looks really cool. It was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing, but it's something that's really stuck, and you're going to start seeing it every game from now on, hopefully.
Wow. Now, if you had to pick one chant in particular that would be your favorite, what would it be?
Oh, man. There's really a lot of good ones. I think the Hey song, which is actually a song played by the band, is very unique because it started with just the instrumental and people going, "Hey, go Dogs." However, Ari and I have added a little bit of flavor to it. Throughout the whole course of the song, we like to poke fun at our neighbors, Valpo. We like to poke fun at VCU, a little bit of fun at IU, but at the same time, we're keeping it original. We're keeping it classy. We're really not making fun of anybody too much, and just made it our own.
Now, most people know you from obviously the front row of the basketball games with Ari sitting there, but do you attend any of the other games, or are you as loud and kind of talking to the other team's players as much as you do in the basketball games?
It really depends on the event and the atmosphere. However, I do go to almost every sporting event I can. I was at almost all the volleyball games this year, almost all the soccer games this year. In terms of women's basketball, I was at every game. I actually joined the women's practice squad as a male practice player, so I'm very well invested in that program, and I've spent a lot of time going through their practices. So I'm a little bit more active at those games because I know what's going on. I know the plays. I know what the other team is running. So I can be as loud, but it's a lot different when you have not quite the same amount of student backing and voices behind you.
Now it sounds like you're really incorporated into the dog pound and the Butler sports. Did you have a job before this presidency, or is it kind of unofficial?
I would like to think I was one of the unofficial chant leaders. A lot of people think that you can just start a chant at any moment in the game, but it's really a difficult job. If you don't understand the game of basketball, you're going to have a hard time picking the right chant for the right moment in the game, and also reacting quickly to what's happening on the court. It's one of those things that you kind of have to have a knowledge of the game for. You have to be somewhat creative to come up with new chants, and you also have to be able to remember things, because you don't want to reuse the chants over and over and over. It becomes something that students don't really participate in if you hear the same thing at multiple points during the game.
Now, aside from chants, you also tried setting up a thing via Facebook group called Operation Stand Up Hinkle. Can you speak more on that?
Operation Stand Up Hinkle was started because we felt there was a lack of student energy at basketball games, in particular from the students sitting on the lower level. Because the lower level is full of dog pound students, they tend to be more actively involved than the students sitting up top on the upper part of Hinkle. They kind of feel like they're farther away from the court, and their presence isn't really felt. So the whole point of that was to really get the students on the upper deck involved, jumping up and down, and to act like dog pound members, whether or not they were part of the actual organization. The way Hinkle's built, it echoes really well. If we have a lot of students standing up, chanting, screaming, going crazy, it's going to create a whole nother level of atmosphere that would make Hinkle one of the toughest places to play in the country.
Absolutely. During the Gonzaga game, it's one of the best instances of that, I believe, where the place was just rocking. You had almost everybody on their feet. And now you used Facebook to kind of get your message across there. For when you ran for president, how did you really get your name out there and try and promote yourself?
Well, there are a few ways. I kind of understand the dynamic of how dog pound is set up, and you typically have a lot of freshmen, and then the numbers decrease as you get older with the different grade levels. So I spend a lot of time trying to campaign to freshmen using Facebook, going to Atherton, and going to the lunch tables and saying, hey, have you voted yet? I went around Ross a couple times saying, if you haven't voted, you should go on now, and introduce myself to those that I don't know. And then at a lot of the games, as people walked in and out, or as I saw people on campus, I'd just say, hey, check your email. You're supposed to vote for Dog Pound President this week, and my efforts paid off.
Now, you used a lot of word of mouth. Were you ever nervous or uncertain if you're going to be elected? Were you kind of scared if you'd lose? Or?
Not really. It wasn't necessarily me worried about not losing or winning. It was more, I kind of realized that next year as a senior, while I could take Dog Pound and incorporate my ideas and try to make it as best as possible, if I weren't elected, I would be doing the same thing that I'm doing now. Still unofficially leading chants, still attending games, being the first one there, being able to sit in the first row. So the reason I ran for Dog Pound in the first place was because I felt that there were certain areas that could be improved. I thought there were different areas that needed to be stressed, especially in terms of student attendance. And I feel like my ideas could help improve in those areas. So had I lost, I would have been a little bit disappointed, but in terms of being able to attend all sporting events and things like that, it wouldn't have really changed the way I was going to act or how big of a fan I am.
Now, you talked about your ideas a little bit in that last answer. Can you tell me kind of what ideas you had coming up for the Dog Pound? What kind of platform did you run off of, some goals that you had?
Well, the first thing, and I think the most important thing, is increasing student attendance at every single game, whether it's basketball, which is our most marketable sport, or soccer, or baseball, or football, you name it. We want students to be there because it shows the support for the athletic program and the school. So there's something called the Dog Pound Street Team that does a lot of marketing and promotion for the actual game days coming up. I felt last year they were a little bit underutilized. They really didn't put the word out there. In particular, we had a game on a Tuesday night versus Charlotte, which we ended up losing in the final seconds. Andrew Smith didn't play that night, but nobody knew about it because we don't typically play on Tuesdays. Charlotte's not a big name team, so people didn't realize there was a game going on, and it was one of our lowest student attendant totals. So if I can take the street team and use my own voice and get the word out there about all these games, I feel like people are going to be more inclined to go because I know that they're happening.
Now, besides just attendance, do you have any other ideas with you being president that you can kind of bring to the Dog Pound to make it a little bit more fun or exciting?
just encouraging people to kind of be crazy. You can see the attire I have on. I feel like the people that wear the goofy costumes are usually the loudest and most involved. I was looking to set up an event at the beginning of the year to include all our new Dog Pound members so that they can understand the chants and have an idea of what it's like to be in the Dog Pound before the season actually starts. And in terms of other things, one of the things that I'm talking to the athletic department about right now is getting a school bus that picks up at Atherton and drives all the way to Hinkle. I know it's a short walk, but I feel like in poor weather especially, a lot of students aren't willing to make that trip because they can't drive and park. And if we offer that bus opportunity, I feel like our student attendance might increase. I don't know how much it's going to cost. I don't know what our budget is yet because we don't have the figures for next year, but if we can make that happen, we're going to.
I know I'd be excited about taking a bus in the rain. Those walks are just treacherous. Now, with you being president, will we be able to see you in some of the same spots as we did for the rest of the games when you were in the front row of the basketball, or will you kind of be walking around doing more?
When it comes to game time, I'm going to be in the exact same place, acting the same way I have in the last 3 seasons. There are more responsibilities that come with the job. I have to go around and scan people in at the beginning of the game when they're coming in, hand out wristbands. I'm in charge of coordinating the bus trips, things like that. But when we're at Hinkle and there's a basketball game going on, or really any sort of event, you'll see me in the same spot going crazy like I usually do.
Now, through your time here in the Dog Pound, you're about to be a senior. What has been your favorite moment in Dog Pound?
Wow. There's a few. My freshman year, I was fortunate enough to be a part of the Dog Pound that got to travel to the Final Four in Houston. It was an unbelievable experience. I mean, being to go through the tournament like that, having come off a Final Four the year before, and everybody saying there's no chance, it was amazing. I got to go to New Orleans for the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. It's a wonderful city. I had a lot of fun there. And then when we went to the Final Four, making that drive down and the anticipation for the game, being able to sit inside a football stadium and go absolutely crazy was awesome. In terms of this year, I went to Maui for Thanksgiving break vacation, but also because Butler was playing there. Went to all those games. We had Rodney's famous one-hand three-point heave to beat Marquette, which if you watch the video, I'm going crazy in the background in the first row. Beating Indiana was fantastic because a large portion of my high school goes to Indiana, and I can't say I have I like those guys too much, so being able to rub that in a bit was awesome. And then the whole game day Gonzaga thing was amazing. Not only was I randomly selected to shoot the half-court shot and actually make it on national TV, but I was outdone by Roosevelt Jones that night, which made it one of the best days I've ever had. I would have traded the half-court shot for that game winner every day, but the fact that both happened in such a big environment was an unbelievable feeling.
Thank you for joining us, Kevin. I'm happy to see you as Dog Pound president. Can't wait to see you next year running things.
I'm looking forward to next year, and I'm glad you had me on the show. Coming
up on the segment 3 of the Blitz, Marissa Johnson and Matt Rhinesmith will take a look at historic week in Butler sports with an announced move to the Big East Conference.
Goodbye Atlantic 10 and hello Big East. I'm Marissa Johnson. We've got that story and more on this week's Bulldog Blitz.
I'm Matt Rhinesmith. The Dogs are on the move to the Big East Conference. Butler student athletes watched the stream of the conference announcement live from New York City. The voice of the conference, Gus Johnson, announced the teams making up the Big East in partnership with Fox Sports. Butler President James Danko was in New York City along with presidents from the other 9 schools from the Big East. In a pre-taped video, Danko credited the move to the success of Butler basketball and the involvement of the Butler students and fans. The move to the new conference officially takes place this summer.
Unfortunately, the men's basketball season came to an end with a 74-72 loss to Marquette in the NCAA tournament. After the game, Rodney Clark tried to put the game and the season into perspective.
I mean, it's hard to do that just because the last game was a loss. But, I'm appreciative for being a Butler. Appreciative of all these guys and the coaches and the support that we've had. So just banking on that. Just trying to stay positive.
Clark led the Bulldogs in the game with 24 points. The Butler men ended their season with a 28-9 record.
The Butler loss had an emotional impact on students across the campus. JoJo Gentry reports.
There is no doubt that Butler's 72-74 loss to Marquette in the NCAA tournament has put a damper on the Butler community. However, the excitement and the pride that Butler basketball brings to campus have yet to settle down.
You know, I think Butler students, especially the upperclassmen, have been accustomed to winning those types of games. And so when we lose those type of games like we did on Saturday, it's tough because, you know, we just expect to win those.
Senior cheerleading captain Mark Abarca says he is heartbroken because he will never be able to cheer on the sidelines for the Bulldogs again.
Personally, I am absolutely heartbroken because I have followed the team all 4 years here, and every single game, just a little bit of Butler magic came out. And when it came down to the last game, I was like, it's going to happen. And it didn't.
Very disappointed. Not necessarily that the team underachieved, but because the expectation, having gone to a couple Final Fours the last 2 times that Butler's in the tournament, and having this new standard of winning in Butler basketball.
I was definitely a little disappointed. I feel like this team had a lot more potential than they showed in the tournament. I feel like I could have seen them making a run all the way to the Final Four again. You know, if some more shots fell, I feel like we might have used up a little bit more of our magic earlier in the year.
I also thought that some of the subbing could have gone a little bit better. At the end of the first half, Rodney was really hot, and he was taken out of the game, I'm sure, because he needed a rest. But coming off of a timeout, I felt like he could have stayed in the game, maybe made another shot or 2.
Next season's Butler men's basketball season ticket information will be available this June. For the Bulldog Blitz, I'm JoJo Gentry.
Like their male counterparts, the Butler women's basketball players also played in a postseason tournament. The Bulldogs fell to Toledo in the Women's National Invitational Tournament last week. Despite the loss, sophomore forward Liz Stratman says the team can do well next season, even in the new Big East.
We could have gone a lot farther, but it's our first year and we're a bunch of young girls, so I think a lot of experience will be better off next year. We're ready to work harder so we can better prepare for next year, and it's going to be a challenge, but we're definitely looking forward to it.
The Butler women finished with an overall record of 17 wins and 14 losses. The Butler women's tennis team hosted Illinois Chicago at the Butler Bubble. The match was the final one at home for the team's seniors, Claire Cornelius and Brittany Farmer. Junior Caroline Hedrick has strung together a 4-match winning streak as the season winds down. She won at #1 singles in the UIC match. Coach Teo Bailey is in her first season coaching the Bulldogs. The Atlantic 10 Championships start later in April.
That is it for this week's Bulldog Blitz. I'm Matt Rhinesmith.
And I'm Marissa Johnson. Have a great week, Bulldog fans.